Okay, yes, it's now allowing
Okay.
me to share. So let me go there. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Great, terrific. Okay.
And it appears that I am recording, so I think we're good. I thought it might be fun, and I did not check this with Eric, but Eric has a lot to talk about, and we want to hear that. But then I thought it might be fun if people put in the chat what the roses are that they see in the pictures, and that will give Eric a plant list, a rose variety list, since we have so many rose experts on the call. And whoever gets the most right, then I will have a special present that I will send to them or drop off at their house. Would that be okay, Eric, if we play that game when you're done with your
Sure,
remarks?
but you'll need to judge who gets what right because I'm not an expert on the varieties.
I'm going to consult a rosarian to check the work. But I think that might be fun. So you will get a prize if you put the right name in the chat. Um, let's go. Let's do that after Eric says his
Okay.
remarks, and
Before
we'll
we
make it
start,
a
can I
game.
ask how many people are from the Potomac Grove Society versus Four Seasons?
I'm with both.
Anyone else with both?
Barkley's with
And
Four Seasons. Kathy's with both. Carol's with both.
I'm just Four Seasons.
okay.
Lisa's just Potomac Rose Society.
All right.
I'm
So,
just Four Seasons.
okay, so welcome to the International Rose Test Garden in Portland, Oregon. I hope you enjoy your visit there today. So Portland is an ideal location for growing roses due to its Mediterranean-like climate and good soil conditions. It has wet winters. There are a lot of roses to identify in this photo. Um, it has dry and sunny summers, which reduces fungus problems and encourages healthy blooming. And there are heavy clay soils that hold moisture well during the dry summers and provide good nutrients. Before the Lewis and Clark Centennial in 1905, Portland planted 200 miles of Madame Caroline Testu roses along the roadways. And we may see that one later. As a result, Portland became known as the City of Roses. And this is the entrance to the Rose Garden. So in 1917, a former Rose Society president named Jesse Curry convinced the city to establish a rose test garden. And I assume that that statue we saw a moment ago is of the founder. Um, the American Rose Society provided some support for establishing the garden. It is the oldest continuously operated public rose test garden in the US. And there's a lot to identify in this photo, so I'll hang here for a moment. In early 1918, the garden began receiving roses from growers in Great Britain, Ireland, and the US for testing. As you can see, there's a sign in this little gazebo as an identifier for the location of the various roses in the garden. The International Rose Test Garden in Portland is located in Washington Park. Washington Park covers 410 acres and also includes the Portland Japanese Garden, the Oregon Zoo, the Hoyt Arboretum, the Portland Children's Museum, and the World Forestry Center. And this one is my favorite, one of my favorites, so I'm hoping someone can identify that one. All right. The Rose Garden.
I am looking for y'all to put the names of these roses in the chat for a special prize. So let me see them come on in the chat.
The Rose Garden moved to its current location within Washington Park in 1928. In the 1950s, the Rose Garden expanded when the zoo moved to its current location in Washington Park. The Rose Garden is owned and managed by Portland Parks and Recreation. So although I'll be talking a little bit about the Japanese garden and the Hoyt Arboretum and a Chinese garden in downtown Portland, this photo presentation is only about the Rose Garden. The Rose Garden is open from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Because it is a public park, so those are extremely long hours for a garden. And because it's a public park, and it's owned and operated by the city, admission is free. There are free public tours at 1 p.m. every day from Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend. There's also a cafe food shop with a limited menu within the garden, so you can stay all day if you'd like. The Rose Garden has 6.9 acres. Although this is relatively small, it is densely planted with roses and other garden plants. So I spent about a half day there. There are more than 10,000 rose bushes of over 610 varieties. Typically, the roses are blooming from late May through October. The peak rose bloom is usually in June. However, I visited at the beginning of July, and blooming was resplendent at that time. Somewhere between July 2 and 4, I don't recall which date that was. In April, look for rhododendrons and wisteria. About 10 to 20 varieties are replaced each year with new ones. Rose breeders and distributors from around the world typically donate about 2,500 rose plants per year. And this is another one of my favorites. I like these bicolor roses with contrast. Sometimes the test garden gets roses 1 to 2 years before they are introduced to the market, but most are already commercially available when they're added. A lot to identify in this one, so I'll give you a moment. All of the main rose groups are represented. Climbing roses, floribundas, hybrid teas, landscape shrub roses, miniature roses, polyantha roses, regular shrub roses, and tree roses. The formal rose evaluation programs are in designated test beds on 2 terraces, so it is not the whole garden. The remaining parts of the garden feature roses that are either historically significant or can be sourced commercially and do well in the area. There are 3 rose arbors planted with a rose called the Super Dorothy Perkins, which is not this one in this photo, but you'll see that in some later photos. Hold on. Okay. Oh, I think I've got a junk caller that keeps trying to call me.
Those are so annoying, especially when they know to call just in the middle of a presentation. Who knows this rose? Unmute yourself and call it out. While Eric deals with his bothersome call.
Okay. Turns out it wasn't a junk caller after all.
Well, it's your loved one who wants to provide.
No. It was just a friend. The formal rose evaluation programs, as I mentioned, are in designated test beds, and there's also a gold medal garden, which showcases over 100 years of excellence in rose breeding. There's a Shakespeare garden. It's not this photo, but you'll see photos later that features plants that are mentioned in Shakespeare's plays. There's a gazebo that's a popular site for weddings. A kiosk on the upper level has an alphabetized list of all the roses, varieties, and a map of their locations. So that's something they need to change every year since the rose compositions change. The Rose Garden has views of Mount Hood and downtown Portland. The garden includes an amphitheater that mainly presents classical music concerts and a few plays. During good weather, the amphitheater is popular for picnics and frisbee games. Of course, there's a store selling rose themed books, merchandise, and garden supplies. Every fall, staff and volunteers prune the roses to 36 to 48 inches to help protect them from wind and rain, which is mainly in winter. In early spring, the roses are pruned to 18 to 24 inches for shape and health. This garden is one of the 11 test sites for the American Garden Rose Selections, formerly called the All-American Roses. The others are in Orangeburg, South Carolina, San Jose, California, Farmers Branch, Texas, and these are not photos of the other gardens, these are all the Portland Garden. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Kennewick, Washington, Westfield, Massachusetts, Columbus, Ohio, Glencoe, Illinois, Ames, Iowa, and Lexington, Kentucky. The trials for the American Garden Rose Selections run for 2 years. During the test period, roses are only identified by code numbers. Each site has 2 judges making 7 evaluations per growing season. There's a lot to identify here, if you'd like. There are 11 attributes that are judged, and these are disease resistance, vigor, foliage proportion and attractiveness, plant habit, flowering effect of bloom abundance, rebloom habit, bloom form and attractiveness, aging quality of blooms, fragrance, hardiness, and general impression. Surprisingly to me, the test roses receive only basic maintenance and no fungicide spraying at all. In Portland's climate, roses are less susceptible to fungal diseases than they are in the Washington, D.C. area. So I spent about 4 hours photographing in the rose garden and 1 hour at the Japanese garden, including a quick lunch. The Japanese garden deserved more time, but I ran up against its earlier closing time. So it would be better to visit the Japanese garden first because the rose garden is open much later. Since parking is limited to the rose garden and the Japanese garden, which are right next to each other, it's best to take TriMet's blue and red Max Light rail lines to Washington Park Station, and then you take a free Washington Park shuttle bus. Or you can take a TriMet Line 83 from Pioneer Courthouse downtown Portland to the Rose Test Garden. For the Japanese garden, and I'll send out subsequently photos from the Japanese garden, is 12.5 acres, so it's about twice the size. Professor Takuma Tona of Tokyo Agricultural University designed the original part of the Japanese garden, which opened in 1967. Paths through the Japanese garden take you through a flat garden, a tea house, a natural garden, and a strolling pond garden. And the Japanese garden may well be best in spring and fall rather than in midsummer, because in spring there are a lot of cherry blossoms, and in fall you have the leaf color. So it was less brilliant in midsummer, although there were some Japanese irises blooming. In this Japanese garden, the trees are much larger than in most, or taller rather, than in most Japanese gardens in the US that I've visited. So this makes the scale seem quite different than usual, and it's extensively shaded below. The Japanese garden is open from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and has an admission fee. The Japanese garden includes meandering streams, walkways, a tea house with some light refreshments, and panoramic views of Mount Hood. There are fast Japanese snack foods that can be purchased there. The Hoyt Arboretum in Washington Park is huge. It's 185 acres and has 12 trails, including a high ridge. And it's also it's at the other end of Washington Park. I spent a full day at the Hoyt Arboretum on a subsequent day. While you're in Portland, also be sure to go to the Lan Su Chinese Garden downtown in the Chinatown area. The Chinese Garden is a classic walled garden. It encompasses a city block. It emphasizes native Chinese plants that surround a small lake stocked with koi. The Chinese Garden contains traditional handcrafted buildings, which were quite interesting, including an authentic Chinese tea house with refreshments available. It also has sculptural stones from the Lake Tai region of China, and poetry is inscribed on some stones, doorways, and buildings. And I'm wondering if this is that Marie Testu rose that I had mentioned earlier on the arbors. The Lan Su Chinese Garden is open from 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. from late March to October, and 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. from October to mid-March, and there is an admission charge. So later I will share photos of all of these gardens and the Arboretum with the group through the Four Seasons listserv, although I haven't processed the other photos yet, so it'll take me a bit of time to do that. So we're still in the rose garden in all of these photos. This is the area just above the amphitheater. This is a junco, which is a bird in the sparrow family. It's not the same species that we have here. The garden is quite, the rose garden is quite densely planted, and there are a lot of conifers and other plant materials. So it makes it look very much larger than it is, even though it's a really quite small an area. And as you can see, it was a bright sunny day. That caused some of my photos to be a bit overexposed, so I had to adjust for that in the processing.
Eric, can you tell us what camera you used for these and how you did it?
Yes. So actually, this was my old camera. It's not my current camera. It was a Nikon, like Nikon single lens reflex. It was not a full frame camera. It's the smaller frame. And I believe it was 70D or was the model number. The current camera that I'm using is a mirrorless camera. It's a Canon RF-7. So all the photos I've been sending you from the last 2 years or so have been with the Canon camera, which I like very much. It's particularly good at focusing quickly on birds and other moving objects. Ferns.
Do you do your own developing?
I do my own processing. Yeah, these are digital, all digital photos. That's actually the time-consuming part. Being a perfectionist.
I can tell because these are awesome pictures.
Right. And this is about a third of the photos that I shot there. I didn't want to keep you till midnight. That's the view over downtown Portland from the background.
Now there's some questions in the chat. Can I ask a few of those now? Would that be a good time?
Sure.
Is there public access to the test results? Can you tell us more about how the testing is done?
You know, I don't really know. That's a good question. I think they must be documented because it's, you know, this is a major, you know, competition throughout the country. So I'm sure that the rose experts want to see all of that data. Where you can get it, you can, you know, check out the check whether there's a website for the rose selections trials. But I'm sure that those are published papers.
Yeah, okay. We can look for those. And then, are the test roses sprayed?
No, not at least not at the Portland Garden. There is no fungicide spraying at the Portland Test Garden. I don't know whether that's true for the other ones because, you know, Portland is an ideal location for roses. Another place that I found was probably even better was Ireland. It was just the roses there were spectacular.
Do you know uh, if there's some of David Austin roses in here? Were they labeled like separately or something?
I know there are David Austin roses. They weren't segregated, but there are David Austin roses there. That's one of the companies that sends roses there for evaluation.
So I think there's a request that we name some of the roses. Can people unmute themselves and say what they think the rose is as Eric goes through? And rather than put you on the spot, Eric, for all the rose names?
Which I couldn't give you anyway, because I was too busy photographing and not trying to look at labels. We're almost to the end. If you want, I can just run through quickly again after that, and you can see if anyone wants to name anything. I bet that one was Peace, perhaps. Too many to name in that one. Is that Double Delight, perhaps?
Eric, I cannot get this audience to participate in the Name the Rose game.
That's okay. Just let them enjoy. Just
The
let them
photos?
enjoy looking at the pictures.
Yes, that was Double Delight.
Can you remind me what month you visited and if they were
It was July, either July, somewhere between July 2 and 4.
Okay. And then Lisa put in the chat that the one that you said was Peace was actually Cortez's Athena hybrid tea,
Okay.
and Cortez is one of the breeders that's known for its disease resistance.
Okay.
Chris is asking what the fragrance was as you walked through the garden. Was it overwhelming? Was it just right? Was it missing?
It was not overwhelming as you walk. So, well, I have kind of allergy and sinus problems, so I don't have the best nose for scents. But it was not overwhelming as you walk through it. Um, if you have to go up to for me, I'd have to go up to each rose and sniff it to be able to tell whether it had fragrance or not.
Oh, I like that little rose. It just looked kind of perky.
This one?
Yeah, looks like a lot of chickens dancing.
And all the foliage is clean, despite the lack of fungicides.
Eric, did you see any disease on the plants?
No,
Rose,
no, I
rosette,
wasn't
or...
like scrutinizing for it, but the leaves look very clean.
Do you know what zone Portland is in?
So their winters are mild. So let me, well, does someone want to check what that is on the web quickly and let us know? But they probably they have very mild winters. They probably don't usually get any snow. And the summers are cooler and drier. The winters are wet.
Was this year that you took the photos a particularly dry or wet year, or was it
I
average?
can't tell, but I believe it was 2023. So that somebody could check on that too.
Our our winners for the ability to um, use the web search are Cindy and David. The zone is 8A, 8B, and 9A. So it's right there around 8B, and that's the zone. I don't know what weather year it was for 2002, but I will look that up. Did you say
2023.
2023? Thank you. And Chris saw Tropicana there. Will our Rosarians confirm that we saw Tropicana when I was talking about zones back there? Did y'all see that one pass by?
Was that on this slide or the other one before? This one? Was that Tropicana?
Carol, Kathy, Lisa, Yvonne.
No, that's not Tropicana. I don't know what it is, but it's not Tropicana.
All right. Thank you. Carol asked if you could talk about the hardscape of the garden. Was there ornamentation, statues, steps, and the like?
No, there's not much statuary, if any, at all. It's just a focus on the garden. It is kind of hilly, but there are paths that wind you through it. So it was not difficult. I don't know how wheelchair accessible it might be. But again, it's also a small garden, so you can even just do a part of it with if you have any difficulties walking. So here's a fountain. They had a lot of these support structures. The paths are paved. And that's the last slide with a sign pointing you to where to walk to go to the Japanese garden.
That is beautiful. Such great photos. Now, Eric, tell us about your travel schedule.
Well, that was back when I was working, and I actually had a work conference where I was presenting a paper in Portland, which was what took me there. But now that I had worked for USAID and became involuntarily retired last year.
Okay, so all those wonderful trips that I hear you send photos about.
Well, a lot of them are vacation trips too, so those will be continuing.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad you have a little more time to work on your beautiful garden trips, but sorry about how that came about. The chat is full of compliments for your photography and the images and the framing. So I want to, on behalf of Four Seasons Garden Club, thank you for presenting to us tonight.
I enjoyed it. Thank
Our
you.
very own member. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.